Nathan joins us on the hotline. Hello, Nathan.
Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Doing wonderful. How do we get Dillon Gabriel going on Sunday?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I thought we saw some good things in that game against the Jets in terms of, getting Jerry Jeudy involved season high in catches and yards, and obviously his first touchdown of the year for Jerry Jeudy. That was good. I really think the key for Dillon Gabriel is going to be more consistency because, he was able to push the ball down the field a little bit in that game against the Jets. That was good to see. Got his wide receivers involved, got his tight ends involved, but there still were throws that, probably should be layups in the NFL. The throwback to Malachi Corley, for example, that's a touchdown. When you get something that's schemed up that well, Tommy Rees calls the perfect play at the perfect time. You have an opportunity to hit that, and really, it's just kind of a 20-yard pass, even though it's sideways with nothing in between them. That's one that has to be connected, O'Con, because that's a big play. That's a game-changing chunk play. And so I think for Dillon Gabriel, it's more consistency. It's being sometimes, and I know this is going to say, how can you do both of these things? At times, I think he's almost too quick in his process, and it causes him to either miss things or to be inaccurate with the football and not see things down the field. And then other times, and he's a rookie, so it makes sense that this would be the case, other times he's a little too slow with his process. For example, on that 4th and 1, he was so set on Jerry Jeudy out of the backfield, but if he sees that, okay, look, that's covered, let me come back to the right side, then you have an easy first down. The Browns' drive continues, and maybe there's a different outcome in that game. So I think it's just kind of finding the balance of, when to be sped up, when to be able to be kind of calm in the pocket and take what's there. And he's got to avoid taking so many sacks. That was a team, the New York Jets, that came into the game with 11 sacks on the season, and he was sacked 6 times. So I think eliminating those negative plays, kind of reading top down when he obviously has those opportunities to get the ball down the field, and then just let the layups be layups. I think that is something that is so important in an offense like this.
Yeah, he got bailed out, too, after that field goal because I didn't think there was a chance they'd get it off. They were able to run the fire drill.
Sack.
Yeah.
You can't take one there. But with all that said, Nathan, I saw him finally, confidently take off and run, which I thought would be a bigger dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's something I watched Drake May. He just knows when to do it. And I'm not trying to compare everybody to the MVP, hopeful right now.
Yeah.
But there are guys that just kind of take off and run, and he has seemed reluctant to do that until last week. With that said, can anybody explain, Nathan, the weird balls that come out of his hand that either go right straight to the dirt or airmailing guys by 4 feet? It seems ridiculous. Anybody that watched him in college, I did not see that from him. He had some massive wins in college, one of them over Ohio State, where I didn't see any evidence of that. Where is that coming from?
That's a great question. And I think probably my guess would be on the Jerry Jeudy one. Now, I haven't gotten a chance to speak with him, but I'm guessing the only thing that makes sense to me on the Jerry Jeudy one where he throws in the ground is that he saw something late and kind of just said that if I throw it, it's going to get intercepted, so he threw it in the ground. Now that wasn't the case, but you're right, and that's what I talked about earlier. That consistency. There are the throw to Cedric Tillman on a dig. That's a good 4 yards behind him, and fortunately the Jets DBs, they can't really catch the football. They still have no interceptions on the season, so. I don't know. And that's one of the things, his accuracy was certainly something that was praised throughout the pre-draft process. And so I am surprised that there have been some of those, what you would call kind of big misses for the NFL. The throwback to Corley, that's the one that to me, that's just a 20-yard throw on air. In reality, that's all that is. There was nobody between the two of them. He didn't have to layer it in over anybody, and to miss it the way that he did, it's a little bit troubling. Again, Drake May was a 3rd overall pick. We're talking about a guy who's drafted late in the 3rd round, so I think there are different kind of ceilings and different trajectories for the two of them. But yeah, you want to see him kind of be able to hone that in, because if he can and just be more consistent with his ball placement, I do think that there's an opportunity for this offense to be a little bit more productive than we've seen, and that's kind of the missing piece. We talk special teams ad nauseum. Obviously, that is not acceptable, what's happening on special teams and what happened in that Jets game. But, the one thing that's been kind of consistently below where it needs to be this season has been the offense. And so kind of getting that consistency, letting the layups be layups, I think all those things would be very helpful to kind of getting that on track.
What did you think was the difference between Tommy Rees' style and Kevin Stefanski's play calling style?
So I would have to go in and look at the numbers completely, but kind of in my notes when I watched the game live and then actually when I watched it back on tape, it felt like we were a little bit more spread out. We were a little bit more 11 personnel focused. I like him incorporating Malachi Corley a couple times on that run. I mean, Malachi Corley's been over 10 yards a carry on those runs, so I'd like to see that keep going. It just felt a little bit more spread out, a little bit more wide open is the way that I would describe it. Now, there were times when obviously he condensed it down and things like that, but that's kind of was my initial read on it. It was just a little bit more kind of free-flowing. When I talked to Quinshon Judkins about it, he said, one of the things that Tommy wanted to do was make sure he got the ball to his playmakers in space. The other thing I would say was it was clear that there was an emphasis on getting Jerry Jeudy the football, because we've gone games, in fact, the game prior in New England, where he's not even targeted until the fourth quarter. And I thought it was clearly a priority. And they did something that I thought was very smart. It's something that we had seen teams do to us. We saw the Detroit Lions do it. We saw the Minnesota Vikings do it. It's where they take their number one receiver and they're lined up all the way outside. So call that the number, when they count the receivers, 1, 2, 3. He'd be at the one position. And then at the last second, Jeudy would short motion in, getting him into the number 2 spot. So we'd come inside of one more receiver to get in the slot. That gave him a free release. And you saw Jerry Jeudy's route running in that game against the Jets. And that allowed him to take advantage of that and get wide open, get some layups, get the ball in his hands, get some rhythm. I talked to Jerry about that. And he said, yeah, that was definitely something that Tommy kind of implemented that had not necessarily been in the offense as much before. And I thought we saw some success with that.
All right, Nathan, so this team, now that DePodesta is gone, do you think that role gets filled, or do you think the hierarchy changes at all, at least in the short term? Like, now that Paul's gone, are people set scrambling, going, what do we do with decision-making, or is the setup still going to be relatively similar?
I think it's going to be, I don't know if they're going to replace him. My guess would be probably not. I have no idea, though. That's kind of all well above my pay grade. I don't think that I think people are making a bigger deal of it than it was. I think this is something that was kind of, the Browns were transitioning to this point anyway, so I don't think anything is changing, for example, in this season, if that makes sense to you. So I don't think that it's going to change now or going forward. Just depends on, what direction they go. If they want to bring somebody else into that role, I have no idea what the ultimate organizational structure plan is from that standpoint, but this is not something that they were unprepared for.
Nathan, the rookies right now, it's something obviously I think a lot of Browns fans are going to be excited to at least follow the rest of the year, even if the wins and losses aren't going to be where we want them to be. How do you kind of evaluate what you've seen from these guys? I thought it was awesome that Schlesinger still played in that game last week, when I think a lot of veterans certainly would not have. A lot of players in general would not have, and he was still running around making plays. Judkins, I think it speaks for itself when that guy battles through the contact that he's getting behind the line of scrimmage, and obviously Fannin leads the team in targets and receiving yards.
I mean, this is, the Browns are doing something that really hasn't been done in many cases in 50 years in terms of the contributions they're getting from the rookie class. And your leading passer is a rookie. Your leading receiver is a rookie. Your leading runner is a rookie. Your leading tackler is a rookie. So, yeah, this rookie class has been excellent. I'm glad you brought up Carson Schlesinger. Just an incredible guy. I got a chance to talk with Jason Tarver yesterday, the Browns linebacker coach. We had like a 16-minute interview that was on Browns Daily, so people certainly should go seek that out. But and he's an awesome guy. He is so fun to talk to, as Ken knows very well. But yeah, you can't say enough good things about Carson Schlesinger. I mean, this guy was a one-year starter in college. And you think about the defense or the offenses that we've had to go against. Think about the Baltimore Ravens. This will be the second time against the Ravens, right? You think about an Arthur Smith-style offense with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Think about Green Bay with LaFleur. You think about the Detroit Lions and their offensive side. You think about what Kevin O'Connell does. Think about Miami and all of their motions. We've played probably in terms of a gauntlet of offenses that are designed to put linebackers, and especially the opposing Mike linebacker, in a bind. It's those offenses. These are offenses built on deception and eye candy, window dressing, trying to get your eyes in the wrong spot, trying to get your fits in the wrong spot. And Carson Schlesinger has handled it like a veteran. And you talk about Jason Tarver. He's been around guys like Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis. He's been around some of the best linebackers, and he is blown away by just the mental aptitude of Carson Schlesinger, the toughness, the skill that he possesses to go to the football. And he's been sensational. I think that he should be the defensive rookie of the year this year. I think he certainly is on that kind of a trajectory. And then on the offensive side, Quinshon has been incredible. You want to get some more room for him, because it felt like even in the Jets game, when he got a yard or two, he picked up 9 or 10. If he got a yard or two before he took contact, it was like a 9 or 10-yard run. We've got to do that a little bit more often for him. Fannon's been a gem of a find, absolutely, in the third round. And so, yeah, this has been a really good rookie class. You got Dillon Gabriel, who's your leading passer. And, one thing he's done in our 5 games he's been the quarterback, he's only turned the ball over 2 times. That is the tied for the fewest in the NFL. What we need to do as a team is turn all of those things into victories, take advantage of the fact that we are taking care of the football and find a way to win. But, yeah, you got to be encouraged by what you've gotten from this rookie class.
Nathan, thank you very much for the time. We'll talk to you again next Friday. All the best to you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
The great Nathan Zegura on the Fan Hotline, getting you ready for Browns-Ravens on Sunday.